Okay, so they want you to select the container rule in your CSS panel. So I'm going to drag the CSS panel out just so that we can see that specifically. And they want us to select the container class rule, which is inside our HTML5, I believe, 2-column layout. And then they want you to edit that. So you can double click on it if you click correctly, otherwise you're going to have to click on the little pencil icon to edit that rule. And then they want you to click the positioning category. And then, I'm sorry, what was the question?
The container.
Yeah, do you have the right style sheet selected in CSS? It's the HTML5 2-col fix right header dot CSS rule dot container. That's okay. And then so you want to go ahead and do that. You want to click on the position list arrow, and then you want to make sure that relative is selected. Then they have a little illustration for you on page 1024, figure 23. They want you to make sure it kind of looks similar to what they have there. Now, here's the tricky, well, I'm not going to say tricky, but here's the important part. To force your AP divs to remain in a fixed position in all sizes of browser window. So this is what Scott was alluding to a little bit earlier. We need to set a parent container to a relative position and then move the AP div tags below the opening rule for that parent. All right, so in order to do that, they want us to switch to code view. You could also do it in the split view if you wanted to. And they want you to select the 3 lines of code for the 3 AP divs right under the closing container div tag as shown in figure 24. So if you look at it, on there is they have approximately line 98 to 100. You're going to see those div IDs for those 3 div container things. Now mine's, you can see on yours, it may not be the exact same line numbers, but I can see the div IDs here for the children. Okay, for the white ibis and for the heron that they talked about. So I'm going to select those. And then they want you to cut the code and paste them underneath the opening tag for the container rule. Now remember, AP divs are positioned based on the coordinates. So putting them there isn't really going to change their positioning as far as where they are on the page. What it's doing is changing what they're being positioned relative to. So I'm going to cut this stuff out by right-clicking. It's a little flaky here. Right-clicking, and then I'm going to select cut. And then I want to position it, or paste it actually, exactly where they tell us to do it. They want us to do it under the opening tag for the container rule. And you can see page 25 in your book, the container starts right after the body tag begins. So I know I'm going to have to scroll up a bit. Here's the container div class tag. On mine, it's approximately line 61. In your book, it has 59. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click paste to paste those 3 div ID items right there.
Right after body.
Right after the body tag, after the container tag.
After the container tag.
Yeah, after the container.
Under the container tag.
It's like right next to it, right click.
Okay, so you've got the container, div class container. You hit a return, or it doesn't matter if you did it right after too. And then I'm going to paste it in. A lot of times the line breaks that you see in code are really for us as people visually looking at the code more than it is necessary.
So we didn't have to hit a hard return after the container.
Yeah, if you did a hard return in code, it's not going to matter.
If we did or not.
No, because it's not. That's not a hard return that's being registered. That's a return for the code. So we've got this set up, okay, and then we're going to do the save. And I would say save all. Make sure you do save all because it's a.
They don't move.
That's right. So when we go back to the design view and we can look at in the live view, it looks kind of like we'd expect. And then when we go to preview this thing in the Safari browser, unlike before, do you remember when we resized it, it was always relative to the upper left of the browser window. Now it's relative to this container. So it isn't until we start to encroach the container, and even then, that we have to worry about or consider those AP items. So this is kind of what we were shooting for. Does that make sense? That we make this subordinate to that container item, and then we don't have to deal with the hazards of absolute positioning relative to the browser window, because we're going to have different browser sizes, different browsers themselves, and those issues can all pop up with the APDIV.